In this video, I'm going to show you how I do my flip-over Fulani braids with some ombre blue hair. So first I'm going to part the front out of the way. Just want to make sure that the parts are pretty straight because the front area is going to be the Fulani design. You'll see here I am separating the hair that's closest to the nape, going from ear to ear so I can do the bottom rows. I would say this is probably the part that takes the longest is parting, so I would need to do a few tries just to get it right. I like to take some oil and just distribute it all throughout my hair to seal in some moisture since my hair is going to be in braids the whole time. Might as well braid the hair with some moisture sealed in. I add some products so that it can make the parts look a little bit cleaner and just make molding a little bit easier. We're just gonna go straight away into the first braid. I've sped up most of this video because it's a lot of me just doing the same things over and over. If you're ever curious about what I watch whenever I braid my hair, this time I was binge watching my favorite podcast, Shits and Gigs, and I can listen to them for hours, multiple episodes. I'll repeat episodes because I just love listening to them so much. And after editing this video, it's so funny when I catch myself just smiling at whatever, and it's mostly because I'm kind of laughing internally at whatever they're saying. So I have the first row finished. Not bad, fairly clean. I would say the first ones are always like the roughest looking, but these don't look too bad. For the style, you can see that I'm doing a brick layer layout, which essentially means the next row's part will sit right on top of the braid that I just did. The parts aren't aligned, but the parts of the following row are going to sit right on top of the braid that I just did so that it can sit in a way that looks a little bit more full. And I just feel like this pattern a little bit more in general just because it just feels cleaner and it's the most intuitive, I would say. Because if you were to make rows of braids that are like almost columns, then it doesn't sit as nicely as it should. It doesn't give that fullness. Let me know if you want me to ever break down what the parts are like supposed to look like, but whenever you see me braid it, you can get a good idea of that brick layer effect. It's so funny, you can just kind of notice the change in lighting and it can indicate the times of day that I'm working on this in my room. So I'm pretty sure this is deep in the nighttime that I'm doing this this top half, like the crown area of my hair. It was the crazy thing about rewatching these videos as I edit. I sped this up like at least like 5 times. And it still feels really long. Like it takes me a while to do it. So I'm not the fastest braider, but I guess I'm like, you know, determined enough to continue to be a self braider. Honestly though, I've seen some braiders that like their hands move as fast as like my 5-speed ones, and dang, they are crazy. They're really good. Woo! I'm liking how the back looks. I'm on my last braid of the box braid area, and this is kind of where I show you how I do the braid. Have it in real time. So I'm splitting my hair in 3. And this is where, you know, the muscle memory kind of happens. Like, you really just gotta remember what you're doing. And I plaited a couple of times and started to add hair right away. Do my best to keep my hands as close to my scalp as possible. That's what keeps the braid tight and neat up against the scalp. I used to tell people, and I think it still stands true, I used to tell people that braiding my own hair is easier than doing other people's hair because I understand what my tolerance is or how tight I want certain braids, and I can see how like I'm tugging my hair, and I remember it not being painful or anything, but that's just how I got used to braiding my own hair and understanding how it's supposed to feel. I don't think I'm doing it in a painful manner. I do it in a way that makes it as neat as possible for me, and obviously doesn't cause any like pain or redness or whatever. Actually, I changed my technique on how I braid my own hair because my hand position used to be different. I thought this would make me faster, and to an extent I feel like it does. Like, there's a neatness to how my braids turn out as I braid this way. But my original technique, you know, whatever was the most intuitive for me, my fingers look all crazy. I can probably show you a video on like the differences of how I braid, how I used to braid, because everybody has different hand positions and none of them are like wrong or more correct, but there are like different benefits to the various hand positions. But it all boils down to the braider's comfort level and however they train their muscles to yield the results as a braider. I'm pretty sure I am sleepy, so this is where we call it a night. Take out the hair ties and get some rest, because I don't even know what time it is. But it's pretty late. Morning everyone, it's day 2 of doing my hair. Oh, we finished the box braids yesterday. Finished around midnight. I could have kept going and just finished the top, but your girl loves her sleep. So we're gonna do this front area. We're going for the Flip-Over Fulani. Let's get it. All right, so we're gonna take our oil once again, seal in the moisture, make sure I get those ends. This trim mirror is pretty helpful. I don't always opt for the trim mirror thing whenever I do my own hairstyles. So with the Fulani design, what they do is have like this triangular section in the middle that are usually just cornrows that go backward. So that's what I'm isolating right now. The area in the middle is going to be 4 braids. They're kind of like tapered braids. They're skinny in the front and then they're going to get a little bit wider as they move back so it can fit that triangular shape. And after I have that all tied off, the section that goes right outside of that triangular section on both sides, because we want to have it symmetrical, those are going to be individual braids with triangular parts. This isn't like a rule or anything, because Fulani, the design is just kind of almost freestyle, but you have these like little principles that you want to follow if you want to achieve that look that allows for that versatility. And this is the element that you kind of want to incorporate so you get that effect. And here it's gonna be, you know, maybe like a little bit thicker because, like I said, we're gonna do triangular parts for these individual braids, and I believe there's about 4 individual braids that go on each side. All right, so this is the first individual braid of that row. That means it's just like any other box braid. You feed in the hair as per usual. And it helps that it's knotless because you're gonna be able to flip the hair on whichever side you choose. Makes it a little bit easier as opposed to like a traditional braid, which typically it's a little bit more challenging or maybe even a little bit more painful to be flipping the hair back and forth with the traditional box braids because there's a little bit more tension at the scalp. Whereas the knotless braids, since it's feed-in, all of the hair of the braid isn't added all at once. Like you've seen me add in the hair like progressively as the braid goes on. That's what eases the tension at the scalp. So you can see here, I think I do have 4 braids, and the triangular parts are what allow the braids to also still look full but sit nicely too. Oh wow, look, it's brighter outside. Here I'm showing you the cornrow part of the Fulani. This is actually one of the first styles I attempted to feed in hair. Like the density of my hair allows for like these designs and these braid styles to look fairly full. But then for this particular style, I did need to feed in some hair. You can barely see the color towards the middle of the braid, but I guess it's heavily for density purposes so that the braid just looks a little bit more full. Okay, I feel like I look locked in when I put that hair in my mouth and I'm able to just like meticulously add it in accordingly. I look like I know what I'm doing, but I know it was a freaking freestyle. I was winging this, hoping for the best. Of course, like applying principles I know of feed in, but then it's a completely different notion when you're doing it on yourself versus doing it on a client or doing it on a mannequin. So towards the end of the cornrow, this is where I add hair in, kind of like every other individual, just to match the thickness of all the other braids. Okay, several hours later, I'm on my last braid and I'm gonna show it to you guys. So I start my cornrow. I think I go maybe 5 or 6 rounds or so of this braid until I start to reach at the very top of my head. That's when I begin to add some of the hair. Alright, everyone, I am done braiding, so that means I need to dip my hair so that the ends are nice and, I mean, the ends aren't bad right now. You set the hair with some hot water, towel dry it, put a little mousse on the scalp and all throughout the hair. Yeah, we're finally done 2 days later. So the thing to be careful with about this is to not dip your hair, like your natural hair in there. But honestly, my hair's so long, as you saw in the beginning, that it's almost inevitable that my hair gets touched by the boiling water. And then even here, I pour some water so that it softens the whole shaft, because sometimes it's a little too stiff. Oh, but look, it flows so nicely. Now we put on some mousse. This one's for Debrat. That's her foam mousse. I'll try to put it all around, even put it on my scalp. Oh, and I'll lay some edges right there. And then use the Got2b hairspray. This is where I flip up those pieces so I can get the cornrows underneath. All right, and we're finished. Oh, I love how it falls. It looks so nice. This ombre color, I'm really digging it. I'm usually just a natural 1B 2-4 color, but I really like how this blue turned out. And this is the flip over feature of the Fulani flip over style. It's really cute. I will say, however, if I were to redo this style, which I probably will do soon, I actually would move that row of individual braids up one more row towards the center on each side, because whenever I would flip it over, like, it actually wouldn't stay in place. It would kind of like fall in my face sometimes, which would get a little bit annoying. And I think a way to mitigate that was to have that row of individual braids a little bit more towards the center. But other than that, I think this is such a cute and versatile style. I'm very much somebody who flips between center parts and side parts. So if you're that kind of girly, this style is for you. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.